But it's obviously an honour to have Mr. John Hayes in here, the Bull. So we have 10 questions for you, if that's okay.
Yeah.
The first one is from a former teammate of yours who's still playing himself, Keith Earls.
You know?
Yeah, a good Limerick man.
He's obviously at home and nothing else to do.
Yeah. he would like to know, do you still smoke John Player Blue?
No, not since I used to get him to buy him for me. Like, so he was the one I used to get to go into the shop, but no. Earls used to pretend that. He used to get an old insert out of the tape for strapping. He'd colour the end of it red and a bit of tape on. He'd pretend it was and he'd be standing around pretending he was a young fella. So no, we don't.
No way, a train and he'd be standing pretending to smoke.
He'd paint it up and he'd colour it up and he'd put the leg up against the wall and the hoodie up like this. He'd be standing there. He'd ask you, didn't you want the arse of that there?
That's very good.
I'd say some character I say around
Gives the arse of that there. Yeah. I don't know if I can say that or not.
Yeah, of course you can. You go over and join him then.
Yeah. Brilliant. Two would be standing there, the back leg up against the wall, leaning around.
Brilliant. That's brilliant.
Excellent. The next one is from Diarmuid. This is actually a great one because I remember hearing this story. He wants to know, did you actually delay being called up to the lines that time because you had silage to do?
I didn't get called up to the lines in the first bit anyway, so I wasn't delayed. But when I was getting called out, I had to take into consideration whether I could go or not with work that had to be done. But we got it done, so then I was able to go. Yeah, but the contractors did the silage. Maguire's and Maroon got it done quicker, so then I was able to go.
I remember you were late call up, wasn't it?
Yeah,
like
I was late call up. I didn't
get
get to go. I didn't get called for
the original one.
I was called up, so it was a bit of a debate that had to be sorted out, but we got to go anyway.
Sorry, you weren't going to go to the lines because you had silage to do?
Well, just maybe for a day or two. I might have held off for a day or two, yeah.
John, that is disgraceful.
Whether 2009 was a bad year, there was a few good dry days, like you have to make it most of it, like. Look, well, now if we were on, like when work had to be done, and then come home 4 or 3 weeks later and it's slogging rain, like that should have been done. But you were gone, like so.
Get someone else to do it, like you're going.
That's what we did do. We got it done, like.
Oh, you're hilarious.
Put a bit of pressure on, but it all happened.
I love hearing all these Doughty stories. I have another question for you.
No training done for the lines. We're supposed to, when you're on call, you're supposed to keep fit, kind of keep our bit going. As soon as the season finished, gone, nothing done, like that was it. Just arrived out there, just whatever happens, that was it.
You'd farm strength, like.
Yeah, that's all it was.
On to play South Africa, South Africa.
I think, are you fit? I said, no, but I'm fresh anyway. I said, I'd literally nothing done, like.
That's hilarious.
Well, talking about your rugby, the question here is, what is your favourite international game that you've ever played in?
First cap.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, first
Tell
cap.
us about it.
22 years ago, actually, the 19th of the 2nd, 2000 against Scotland in the old Lansdowne Road. Yeah, just brilliant. Luckily enough, squad was named early on in the week, so got to know from the Monday night. Like, so the whole week, the lead into it, something else. Just the excitement and the buzz and wait to get to play and to run out at Lansdowne Road back then, like, was just something else. So that's without doubt biggest thrill ever to play in that game. And it was like, yes, we went down. I think we were down 10-0 at one stage, like at the start. It was just no one panicked. There was five new caps on the same day. I think we came back and scored something like 42 or 44 unanswered points against Scotland. Like, we came back and just ran away with it, like, so.
Amazing.
Just some day, best day ever.
How old were you back then? How old were you for that cap?
26, getting my first cap.
Wow.
Like, yeah, so it was old. Yeah.
That's insane.
That's unreal.
When you consider the career that you had, like, you didn't start.
I was the oldest compared to somebody ever else. We're all young fellas, like, and I was just getting first cap at 26, like, but delighted to get it.
That's incredible. Well, continuing to speak about your career, Adam would like to know, who is the most influential player?
Influential player, Paul O'Connell, I'd say. With Munster. Draco was playing with Ireland for a lot of it, but just playing with O'Connell. He came in as a young fella. I'm older than him, obviously. He was there a few years before he came in, but when he came into Munster and stuff, and even then with Ireland after that, the standards that he was just pushing all the time. He didn't accept anything less from anybody. When you were playing against somebody, when you were training, everything you did was top class. It had to be done absolutely right. So
even as a young fella, you were older than him. He was younger.
Older. He was. I remember when he came in as a young fella, first year or two, maybe he was
figuring it out.
But after that, you knew this fella was something that was going to drive this thing on. Like, yeah,
it's a natural kind of leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no question about it. Just he just took the line out, everything as we did as players. Like, he took the standards up.
That's class.
Definitely.
Do you see much of his influence now on Ireland's line right at the moment since he came in? Like, I remember, aside from him now, like, there's so many iconic pictures of you lifting him and how important, integral you were to Munster and Ireland. Do you see his influence there now on the squad?
Definitely, yeah. You'll see the boys, like, they're getting after lineouts. They got lineouts off Wales as well. Like, you know, he won't give up on anything. It's just every lineout is a challenge that can be got after. He'll figure out a way what it is, where it is on the pitch. He does the time to do it, and then he expects the players to do it. That's where someone like Peter O'Mahony, who you see Robin line up balls from Munster, he might be a 6, but he's learned from him. He was a younger fella coming in when Paulie was playing, and he's seen what it takes. It doesn't matter that he's not a second row, he still does it. And they'll have got all that from him, like, and he demands that.
Yeah, brilliant. Billy Barrett has asked if there's any player out there you think would be worthy of your nickname, the Bull. Any current players, obviously, sorry.
We'll give it to Furlong, I suppose, if he wants to. The way he's playing at the moment, he can definitely have it. And he's a farmer from Wexford, so...
There we go, the Bull Furlong. There we go, christened it now, the Bull Furlong.
I'm not sure he wants it, though.
I can have it.
I'm more than happy to give it to him.
Another one here from Jacques wants to know, who was the most difficult loosehead you faced?
Osterand from South Africa. What a player. Just the respect I had for him anyway as a player, and then it was nearly actually an honour to get to play against him when I eventually did, but it wasn't an honour for the game when it was on. Like, he was just so big, huge South African pack, toughest day out every day against him. Played against him maybe 3 times, like, it was just definitely the toughest opponent.
You didn't even have to think about that. Just knew straight away.
Definitely not, yeah. Remember the first day, just clattered. And you're talking about like playing against France or whatever, you know how big it's coming, like, but hit the first scrum against it, like, it just doesn't move.
I remember seeing a thing there recently, he was like the greatest Tri-Nation team, like, and he was the first name on the sheet. Like, everyone over here and over there, he's just rated as, like, he was just...
Won a World Cup 12 years apart, like, 95, 07. Like,
nuts.
Just brilliant player. And an unbelievably nice fella as well then. Old school after the games.
He's a farmer as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, yeah. Great crack, like, nice fella.
Brilliant. Yeah. So I don't know if the story is true, but I think Ron O'Gara was saying that you would be notorious for not being the most emotional person, that you're very like, I'm here to do my job. And he says he was running back after scoring a penalty against Biarritz in the final, and he got 3 points, and you went up 3 points. And he said never before had he run past you and you'd be like, oh, well done, good kick. But at that time he said that you tapped him on the bum and was like, good work, Raj. And he said that meant so much to him. So that meant, like, there is something in you, that there's a soft side of you there somewhere, which might have slipped out once when you were playing for Ireland and you were crying during the anthem.
Yeah.
What was it that just got you crying that day?
I think where it was on, who it was against, like, that game had the country talking, like, you know, I've said it before now since, like the Six Nations on at the moment, like, a lot of people will watch the game, yes, but there will be some people that don't watch rugby now because there was GA on yesterday, whatever. But that game in Croke Park, the start of that, opening up Croke Park that time, that had the whole place talking, whether we should or should not be playing on it. And you just, as a player, you felt it, you knew it was there. You couldn't walk any place, you couldn't go any place in Dublin or anywhere. If you stopped in the car to get out, people were talking about it. Everybody was coming up saying it to you. So I suppose just on the day then, like, when it came out, like, it just, I wasn't the only one either, like, when I getting picked out for this now, like, but
it's because you were known as not being emotional, and then the tears came out.
It was, like, you know, and it was just such a game, like, and it was just one of those games where losing's not an option, like, and it didn't happen, thankfully. So
spanked them that day, like, it was that made the occasion that bit better then as well. It
turned out to be a great game out, but you didn't know, like, it could have gone the other way as well. Like, sometimes all that kind of pressure building before a game could go the other way, like, and it could could flatten you, like, but it didn't that day. It came out the right way, and we got going and we ended up with a good score. So what a great day! Like,
I'm getting goosebumps.
I know. I was telling my dad about you being on the show, and I was getting to interview you, and he told me about that match. He said you have to mention it. I'm glad you did, because he was saying he was at the match and he thought it was unbelievable.
Even at Dennis last week talking about it as well. Like, he was talking about after the game and going the wrong route, coming up through the town and stuff. And he just said it was just symbolism behind the match, everything behind it. It's
Dublin was rocking that day. There was just so many people around. Like, it was just.
He had some piss up after, did you?
I didn't even know.
He went home working. There's work to be done.
I went home the day after, right, actually.
Brilliant.
Oh, brilliant. Paddy wants to know, is it true that you have a ridiculously high pain threshold?
Some of the doctors told me I did have, I don't know, like, again, I just know I am the way I am. Like, so I don't know if mine is high or low unless I'd see someone else. Why are you squealing for that? But it's just some of the doctors would have told me I had. Like, so yeah, apparently I did have. But that sounds so. Saying that, answering that, now makes
you
me
were never
sound-
injured.
I know, yeah.
You were never injured. Like, you just played.
You maybe get lucky that way as well. Like, but so that's maybe why the doctors would say that sometimes maybe something was injured.
Yeah.
Or was injured or hurt or whatever, but you can play on if you want. Like, so.
Can you remember any in particular?
Yeah, like shoulders and stuff, necks, things like that would have been sore, but I always just found once the game got going, you forget about it. But then the day after, then you'd be in agony. Like, why did I do that? Like,
What, you like subluxed your shoulder and played on or something?
never, luckily enough, never anything too bad like that, just bruising and stuff like that. But pain in some way or other. But
You're
The
being
adrenaline
modest.
in the
now,
moments in the match.
Yeah.
But did you suffer with your nerves? I was told that you would be sick before
sometimes
a lot of the
before
big games, would you?
Someone would put someone else to do it in to put me going, like, and stuff like that. But even Raj there, like, talk about sometimes the two of us would have been getting towards the more experienced fellas and be having the pre-match meal. And we'd be just sitting there looking at it. He'd look at me and
You're joking.
we'd be laughing, going, why are we like this? Like, at this age, and the two of us are still there making faces at the pre-match meal, like trying to. And they just barely maybe finished and gone on. And then you'd see some of the younger lads that come in at that stage, and they were just sitting down having a laugh. Like, but whatever way the two of us were, we had come through that.
Just so nervous.
I get that.
And then when I got nervous, then if I wasn't nervous, then I'd be thinking, why am I not nervous? I should be nervous. Like,
Yeah.
It was all. It was
Became
nearly
part
good.
ritual, like
it was
part of
nearly good then to be nervous. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember reading in Roger's book, and I don't know if you felt this as well, that sometimes he'd be on the bus on the way to the game, and he'd be like, I just don't want to play, like I need to retire.
Well, you would, yeah. You'd be putting it, why do I put myself through this every week? Like? And then as soon as the game starts, then it's gone, it's over. And then the bus then coming home from the game, if you've won it, is the best place. Just, why does it go through this every week? Like, but that's the way it was.
Yeah, it's the beauty of it.
But speaking of retiring as well, can you tell us what you've been up to since retiring? Did you miss the matches, the Six Nation big games?
I do sometimes, yeah. You don't miss. It's like maybe yesterday with France, you wouldn't miss that first 10 minutes when you were out there like that. But when you come up to the Aviva or something like that for a home game, you do remember those days. They were special, like they were brilliant.
Yeah.
So I'd just love to be out there playing again, but it's not going to happen, obviously. But it's just, you do remember back that you would miss it just for those few hours or whatever you missed the game, like, yeah.
And what have you been up to since you work on the farm?
Farmer now, yeah, back home. So farmer now, a suckle farm, breeding beef, like, so that's what I do. And that's my new passion now, is trying to make sure that there's to feed the world now with really good Irish beef. Hereford Prime is the special brand that I'm involved in. It's a really good product for Ireland, and it's a premium brand that we're trying to make as well known as we can.
Nice. Is that the uniform there?
That's the crest, yes.
I hope you brought us in a few steaks for us to take home for tonight. I need a roast.
We can get it sorted.
I've had some of it myself before. I mean, like, it's one thing we'll say. It's one thing to come from Ireland. Like, we do produce some of the best beef in the world.
Oh, we do. It's grass fed here in Ireland. Like, it's just, Ireland has a name worldwide for really good beef. It's just top quality. And Hereford is definitely, it's an old traditional breed, and it really is one of the best.
Good stuff.
I'm looking forward to trying that.
Yeah,
Well, to finish off with the last question.
I thought they were gone.
No, you have one more, unfortunately. You have one more. So obviously in this current squad, there's just unbelievable depth throughout the team, especially in the front row. We have Furlong and Porter, we spoke about already, Finlay Beelum, and we've Healy on the bench. Do you think John Hayes in his prime would make the squad now? And don't be modest.
Make the squad at best, I'd say, would be about it. Like, Tyke Furlong is world class. There's no question at all. And I'm not being modest.
You won't be modest, no.
I've not been in any way.
Surely at least the bench.
At best, I'd say he is world class. He's the best prop. Ireland are lucky to have him, and we should realise it ourselves at times that we're Irish players that don't just think that all the best players are always from the Southern Hemisphere or somebody says that we have one of the best in the world. Probably is the best. He is the best prop in the world.
Yeah.
And maybe even the best forward, stuff like that. So.
Wow, that's a big compliment.
Back
for
in
me.
your day, you were the first man to reach 100 caps for Ireland.
Yeah.
And I think you were the first to receive 105 caps in the European Championship, is that right?
I think so, yeah. I'm not sure, yeah.
Don't be modest.
Yeah.
Come here, said a
think
fellow
there's a
who
few
made
more
his
stats I have,
international
actually.
debut at 26, like, and you got
Yeah.
100 caps. That is absolutely
I think I beat
ridiculous.
Drico by a week or something like that. I think I was 1 week, he was the next one. So.
He started playing when he was in Ireland for about 17, like, you know.
Well, that's a mad thing that people don't really know, is that you didn't start playing rugby till you were 18 or 19.
Yeah, I was just 4 or 19, yeah. All GA growing up, like, so.
That's really late, and to make it to the level you
It
did.
would have been, yeah. Just, it was different times then, I suppose. Like, it was club rugby at that stage and played with Bruff, played with Shannon, and just got a good education there.
Yeah, you played with my father, I believe.
I did, yeah.
Showing your age now.
He was captain. I remember him coming over to me. He was captain when I started with Shannon back in 93, 94 was my first season where I was involved there. Like, yeah, I was
No way.
He was there, yeah.
There he is there now.
Jeez, you look just like him.
I don't, do I?
Yeah, you
Shaper,
do. The
as he was
smile on
known.
the nose.
Schaefer, yeah.
I lived up to the name and loved it.
Like father, like son, huh?
Apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Yeah.
I'm telling you.